Hello and welcome back to Moffett Field. Today I'm starting turn 2. These turns taking about a week to do, on and off, coming back to it, do a couple impulses and then come back. What some errata, some errors I made in turn 1 at the end are these dice. I was rolling these and I was counting the 0 as a 0 instead of a 10. I actually ordered new dice because I keep doing it. The one was on a roll for the impulse track. It wouldn't have made a difference. I thought it was a 3 instead of a 13, but I needed a 2 anyway. The other one would have made a difference. It was on the German assault across the river, and I counted it as an 11 with the modifiers. It probably would have been like a 20 or 21 or 22 or 20, 21, and that would have been a success. But anyway, played it like I just left it as is with the Germans losing, but they did finally make it across the river in turn 1. So that's a little bit of catch up from last turn. Some things that I caught after I posted the video. So here we are, turn 2, starting with the production track. This is what people get. So we'll move this, we'll advance this, turn 2. The French are going to put this unit in Paris. So I'll drop that over in Paris. This fighter, these planes have to go in home countries. So I'll drop it probably in London if it's not a stacking rule. This 5 ops points increases the Germans up to 4. So they'll go up to 9 operations points. And that's on this table. So up to 9. Then let's see here. So this bomber, which is pretty good, 4-4, that's going to drop. I'm going to drop that up here. That'll be the 3rd plane in that stack. Then these 2 units I'm going to drop into, I'm going to put these in Hanover. They have to come into a city. So that's the reinforcement phase. The next stages are lending and trade agreements, but I will not be doing that in this scenario. So the next one is initiative. Because the Germans in turn 1 had the first impulse and had the last impulse, they need to move this. This increases to +1. Now both sides roll the die to determine initiative. The Germans will modify their die by 1, and the Germans will be this kind of red, and the Allies will be the green. So we got an 8 for the Allies, a 9, 10 for the Germans. So it looks like the Germans get initiative again. And no reroll. The Germans will roll for weather. No modifiers on the dice. So 10. A 10 results in January or July, August. Fine. Okay, this is Germany turn. Somehow I lost the video for this section, so I'm recreating it here. The Germans are going to attack into the motorized French infantry and the Senegalese militia. So they'll have 10, that's hex 1133. Germany's going to bring in the 3 surrounding hexes. Liege will bring in 16. Aachen is 15 divided by 2 because of the river. Hex 3032 is 15 also because of the river. So that's going to result in 3-to-1 odds, which on the odds modifying table is a +6 die roll modifier. Here we go. So 15. So that's 15 plus 7 is 22. The 22 result is the remaining attacking units, land units, stay face up. It's a 1 kill and a B. And a B is basically a breakthrough plus destroy land units that cannot retreat. These units can't retreat one space because there are units all around them. So that's a success for the Germans. So the French lose these 2 units. I will not put them back in the force pool. And I will advance armor and this 9 infantry. So that's a pretty good breakthrough for the Germans, some progress. One thing I wanted to do, but I forgot, was move this unit out of Hanover up into, I've got 1 unit here. That was a mistake. But it should be okay anyway, till next impulse. So that'll be it for the German impulse. There's no roll. And we move on to Allied impulse number 2. The British will conduct a naval move with this, the Nelson. So it's as Stephen Doges does, 1-1. So that leaves 2 left, so they can go up to the 2 box. These are 4s, so they'll go to the 4 box, or to the 3 box actually. This aircraft Spitfire will rebase to Amsterdam. Seems to be pretty safe for now. I don't think the Germans can get enough force to take Amsterdam at the moment, and then that leaves these within 1.5, 2 range of at least this space. The French are going to do a land movement. This HQ is now at risk, and there's no French troops in Belgium, so I don't need that French HQ there anymore. So this HQ will move down to here, and I'll stack, and this guy will be a rebase. And I'll move up this infantry. It's a little, again, out of order. Rebase is at the end, but doesn't matter that much. No one can intercept during a rebase. So I think that'll be the French move. Allies' turn. And now it's Impulse 3 Axis. Now we'll have a weather roll. The Impulse track marker has been moved up to 3 for the Axis. So this will be the weather roll for the Axis. 16. 16, July, August is rain in the North Temperate, and an advance of 2 on every impulse now going forward. With the rainy weather, I think any land attacks are just going to be too costly with the -1 odds level. And but there's probably, I'm not sure, there might be an aircraft penalty as well. So take this opportunity to maybe reorg through a land action a little bit and reorganize. Now that across his river, once the weather clears up, I think there'll be some better opportunity for attacks. So try and move some of these larger forces up, move up that motorized. And I think I'm going to need an HQ closer for supply line to ensure a secure supply line. Firstly, I'll move the 7 infantry up here. And let's see, the planes I can also put, nope, I can only put 1 plane there. And these planes would either likely move through rebasing at the end of the turn, but I'm just going to rearrange everything now. I'll move this headquarters up to Aiken. And move this unit. Let me check on rail move, but that should be a legal move. As long as the rail begins at a factory or a station, and a station is a city, a port, or a hex with an HQ. Every rail hex is a station when railing an HQ. So factory and a city. So this unit will rail here. And again, this isn't exactly the turn order, but it doesn't matter. I don't think there's any intercepting aircraft or anything like that allowed. And I'll actually move this plane up because it has a good air-to-air end. And I can also put 2 planes there. I can put 2 planes there actually because of the HQ. I get 1 extra stack. So move that plane up. And this can still sit here, I think. Has a long enough range. One revelation I had is that this is the air to sea combat factor in the upper right. So I don't know why I had it in my head that this would be the only plane that could attack navies. In fact, most of these planes can, except for this fighter. Most of these bombers have some type of air to sea rating. So, but I'm going to keep this one here anyway. Again, if the weather is right, I might fly up to the North Sea sea box and try to see how naval combat works. But we'll see maybe next turn if the things clear up weather-wise. And I think I'll move this fighter up to the front lines. I don't think I need to worry too much about ground strikes. You know, the Germans have so many fighters, and the Allies don't have that many planes. The British have a few, but I think I'd rather have my fighters up close to the front line. This one's okay within range. And I do have a stack of 3 here, but that's acceptable because of the city that they're sitting on. So I think that's going to be it for the German turn. There's no roll, so it will be now Allied Impulse 4. So for this Allies Impulse, I just don't see much to do. It would be great if the Allies could attack these 2 units here, but they suffer from the same problems that the Germans do. Rivers and bad weather. So I just don't think it's worth it at the moment. The guide says delay the Germans as long as possible. It's only 5 turns, so the farther the Brits and the French and the other allies can hold back the Germans, the better. So I think that'll be a pass. The French can't even move. I would say maybe the French move in here, but then they have to move an HQ in. If they can even do that, because they're not even cooperating with these groups, so I don't think they can even move in there. Only the British can. The British can only move 2 troops again into here, actually, because of the HQ. So there's reinforcements coming, where there's some units on the production circle, but they're going to have to sit in England, most likely. So I think this will be a pass for the Allies. So that'll move up the tracker. Impulse 5. Yeah, the Germans need to roll for weather. Let's see what they get. They get a 6, a 4, and a 2. That's going to be fine weather with an impulse track increase of 1. Okay, the Germans are going to advance now that it's not raining. And the British left this square open. I wasn't sure if the Germans could move in there because it's into a zone of control. But one can move from a zone of control into another zone of control. So these 2 units will move into there. Then this 6 will move here. This 7 mech will move there. With the goal, I'm going to try and hit this forest unit here. 2 of these units won't be across a river, 1 will. I'll move these down to the bigger map and calculate some odds. So Germans are going to have 2 attacks. They're going to attack into the French garrison and Moroccan unit. They're bringing in 36.5 combat points. So that's going to be just squeak by 3-1. No aircraft. Aircraft are halved in the forest. The French will hold off their aircraft as well. If they bring in, then the Germans will bring these high combat value bombers in. These fighters can't make it. They're too far away out here to do an intercept. But these bombers have high enough combat, air-to-air combat, that they could be a problem. The second combat will be up here, up north. The Germans are bringing in from these 3 spaces. Looks like 2 of those are actually across a river. This is 30 German combat points into 9. So that's 3-1 there as well. Same story. I don't think I'll bring in any Stukas or anything at this time. These fighters here could be a problem, and I don't want to flip the fighters yet at this time, so save them for later. Okay, so I'll roll for these 2 units, or these 2 attacks. The Germans get to select Blitz on both of them, because they have more armor units, and it's clear, forest, desert, etc. So, this is for roll number 1. It's a 15. The only modifier that I can see is the 3-1. So that's a +6 on the die roll. It's not in a city. It's not in... there's no reorganization. There's no face-down units. The weather's okay. So I think it's a +6 is the only modifier that I can see. So that's a 21 on the Blitz. Remaining attacking land units stay face up. That's the star. And it's a B result, which is an S plus a breakthrough. And an S is destroy land units that cannot retreat. I believe they can retreat in this instance, though, because there's no unit next to them. So where this 1 marker is a clear space. So let me look up retreat. I have not encountered that yet. So because it's a shatter and a breakthrough, the defender, or it says here that the attacker can determine if I want to be a retreat instead. But I'm going to choose shatter. So shatter says that the units will go on the production circle and come into play next turn. Unfortunately, none of them were destroyed. And actually, an assault would have been better, probably in this case. But so both of these units will get taken off the board and put into the next production circle. I don't know if they go face down, face up, probably face up. Now this space is empty. So because I have a breakthrough, I can advance here and then into 1232 if I want. As long as I don't basically exceed movement points for the unit, I don't think I will. So the force would cost 2, that would be 3. Most of these units are safe from being turned over or exceeding any kind of movement limit. So this armor, DAC armor, will go here, here. This mech will join that unit. And I think I can still move into here. It does say if the combat leaves the target hex empty, units may advance. So I'll advance some units into this space as well. I will move this infantry. And this infantry. So that was a pretty successful attack on the south. Obviously there's units here and here, but I have not put them on this smaller map. You'll see them again when I move them back. So the attack here is, I believe, carbon copy, 3-to-1 odds. And the 3-to-1 is the only multiplier with the +6. The Germans get to choose the table. I'm going to choose the assault table. I really like eliminating versus sending them to the production table to come back. So the assault table is a little more risky in terms of units flipping over or not flipping over, which was pretty good in the last battle. Those units stay face up. But the assault table has more kills. So I'm going to go for kills this time. So it's a 17. Can't see it. 17. Plus the 6 modifiers, 23. So what I got, this is a good one. Remaining attack land units stay face up. 2 kills and a shatter. So these are destroyed. Not to come back. Just I'll keep them out of the pool. So I'll put them up kind of in the destroyed area. Now these units can advance. I'll advance this armor and this infantry. And that's it for the German attacks. This is how the units look back on the space. That space is open because these guys moved here. One unit moved there, one unit moved there. So that was a pretty great turn for the Germans. Now we'll go to the next air rebases. None of those. Reorganization. Oh, air rebase. Yeah, maybe I will rebase these fighters farther up to the front. So I'll put, I dropped 1 there. I'll drop 1 here. There's a city, so there can be 3. And that will be it for the German impulse. Next move, next impulse. Can I get a -1? Let me see. I don't think I can get a -1. There's no modifiers, so it goes to allies turn 6. I had a little bit of a problem. The map almost fell off the board and pieces somewhat went everywhere, so I had to recreate, and I think I have things back in the correct location, more or less. I was doing some calculations up here. I thought maybe the British can attack these 2 units here with some shore bombardment. But I could probably get to like a 3-to-1 odds, 2-to-1 odds. But this river here causes some problems. And there's enough German Stukas here to probably knock the odds down. They might take some hits with these 2 British fighters, these 2 Spitfires here. Can't quite see them, but there's 2 Spitfires. So I think the British are going to hold off on that. And I don't think the British are going to move at all. But the French will do a land move and pull these 2 units back, a movement factor of 3, or technically they could probably rail as well. But 1, 2, 3, actually to Paris, no, to there. Actually, I'll put 1 there and move this HQ into here. You know, all these units sitting here, they're not doing much, but I mean, they're holding back these German forces. I'd rather pull them back, but I guess they do more benefit behind the Maginot Line than out in the clear. So that'll be it for the French. For the Allies, so that'll take us into Axis, Impulse 7. So I think I'm going to have 1 attack at least here. And these German units are going to attack here against these French. Should be close to 3-to-1. Probably bring in as many airplanes as I can into this. If I can break in behind the lines, that could be pretty good. Okay, so let me calculate the odds and I'll be back. So the top odds, this is 60. So that's pretty much an automatic kill. 8-to-1. So that's a plus 16 on any die roll. And in this attack here, currently it's 20-8, so 2 rounded down, 2-to-1. But I'm going to bring in these planes and try and get it up to 32. So let me look at that. So that'll give me 33 with all these bombers joining. That's a mess again. 33 there. I'm also going to fly this HE-123 in. And I'll fly in this 109 for escort. The French will respond with their 2 planes as well. So I'll put those on the air-to-air combat chart. And I think we'll start with battle number 2 to begin with. So here our setup, we've got the BF-109 up front and this, what is this? Can't even read that. MB-152. So it's normally one would take 1/10 of this, but it says fighters only. This isn't a fighter. And even if it was, that would be 5.4. So I'm going to have to put a question on Board Game Geek. Would that round in the inactive favor to a 6, or would it round down to a 5? Because sometimes it rounds in favor of the inactive or defender. But anyway, It's going to be a 1 to a -1 on the air combat table. So here's the inactive roll for the French. That's a 9. 9 on a -1 is AC. Attacker clears through any one defending bomber. The Germans will clear their best bomber through. The fourth, this one. The Axis roll, active player roll, a 9 on a 1 is a miss. No effect. No aborts. The French will roll again. A 7, same thing, almost 7 on a -1. That's a DA. DA. Defender aborts own front bomber or fighter. So looking, I made a mistake. It was an AC result last time for the French. They get to choose. It says here that AC, the dice roller, chooses any of the opposing bomber to clear through. So I'll clear through one of these weaker ones. So fixing that. And now we have a DX roll. DX is, or sorry, DA. DA, same as AA, except that the side that didn't roll the dice chooses whether to abort their own front, fighter or bomber. So that would be the Germans choosing to abort. They will not abort. Germans roll a 12 on a 1 table is AC. So it says here the attacker or the Germans would choose to clear through a British bomber, but that doesn't really make sense. So I think it's a no effect, because why would the Germans clear through a bomber? Well, technically, I guess they would clear through this bomber. So that leaves the French again. So another round. It's a 7 again on the -1. That's AA. So double A should be the dice roller chooses whether to abort the opposing front fighter. So yes, abort this fighter. I keep thinking I have these results down, and then when I actually read it and apply it, it makes me question whether I'm doing this accurately, but I think I am. So now the Germans will roll as if that fighter was still there with an 18. So AX is the dice roller. The Germans choose whether to destroy the opposing front bomber or front fighter. Yes, they will destroy the front fighter. So that should end the combat, and the rest of these bombers will clear through with the fighter aborted, the fighter destroyed, and the French bomber cleared. So the German bombers clear through, giving the Germans 35. The French bomber clears through, giving the French 10. So 3.5 to 1. And that rounds down to 3. So the Germans will be rolling on the 3 to 1 table modifier. So it's a +6 on the Blitz table. There's no city, so the Germans get to choose. The Germans get another +1 die roll. They'll roll on the Blitz column. So they have a mech, so they get a +1 for the mech attacking into a clear. So that'll be a +7 on the die roll. Now let's see what they get. They scored a 14. A 14. So that result is a 21. A 21 is the Germans stay face up, and it's a breakthrough. So these French units are able to retreat here. And actually, rereading the rules, these units go on the production circle for the next turn. That's what the B or S does. There's actually not a retreat. I think the Germans will not advance and leave this space open. I think I'll continue the march to Paris, but it's kind of good to get that out of the way. No loss to the Germans. And I can kind of see how, one space at a time, an attacker can creep their way in and surround. So let's do this attack now. 60 divided by 7, 8.6 rounds down to 8 to 1 here. The British get to choose the table because they're in a city. And again, they get one factory modifier. The British aren't going to fly in any aircraft, nor are the Germans. So you roll the die here. It's a 20, 2 zeros. That's like 36. On either table, it's an automatic kill, and the Germans don't flip any units. The Allies will burn these. That leaves this space open. The Germans will advance these 2 infantry units into the space. Reorganization and rebase. This unit will rebase to here. I can put 3. There's a city. And that unit will rebase. The French plane rebased here. The German planes returned here. There's a HQ and a city, so I can stack 4 planes here. That fighter had to flip over that was involved, and 1 bomber landed here. So pretty successful turn for the Germans. And that'll be the end of the impulse. Okay, so we'll move on to turn number 8, and I think I forgot to roll for weather last turn for the Axis. I should probably roll to see if that turn ends. I got a 9, so no it doesn't, so now it's impulse 8. Allies. So it's been about a week or so actually since I've looked at the map, but I don't think they're going to do much. They can't really do much. I'd like to stop this stack from moving into Antwerp, so I will pull this, I think I'll pull this 7 unit down and leave that 4 garrison in Rotterdam. At least that'll slow the Germans down. The goal I think of this scenario is to get to turn 5, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Germans are going to roll through now that they're across these rivers. And this plane will probably be overrun, so I might as well move it up. I should probably block that space too, but I don't have a unit to block it. And I'm going to pull some people off the Maginot. Perhaps the French could rail. This guy could rail. He's sitting in a town, but he would have to enter a zone of control, and that would stop. Nobody's on an HQ to rail, so they'll have to do manual movements. 1, 2, 3. No, can't rail from here. That would be possible. I could go south. So 1, 2, 3. And let's see here. These guys can't actually move because they'll move into another zone of control unless I move one of these, unless I move these units out. I think I will shift over like this. And let's just say I do a land action. That should give me enough. This HQ is probably vulnerable. What's in that stack? Okay, so I got a 11. That's pretty good. I'll leave that there. And I'll leave this HQ there. I could actually move this militia up here. I thought about, again, attacking something over here, but I just don't have the resource point or the combat points to do it, even if I brought in this fleet. So I think that'll wrap up turn 8 for the Allies. They will roll to see an end to turn of a 2. 7. So it will now I'll be Axis turn 9. Need to roll for the weather. We're still in July, August. So that's an 8. And an 8 on the weather chart is fine weather with the 1 advance on the impulse track. The action the Germans are going to do is a land. So that's unlimited land movement. This stack here will move 1. And this is a stack of planes. This headquarter unit will move into Liege. The French probably could have moved in here and taken out these 2 planes, but didn't see that. So I'll move that unit up. And I'll move this headquarters up as well. So I can stack 1, 3. I got a city there. In this stack, I'll move up 1, 2, that 5. I'll move the SS unit here. I'll move this headquarters on top of that. Put this on top. So attack number 1 will be against these Belgian units. Number 2 will be across the Maginot Line into this militia. All right, so this is going to be 34 to 7. So 4 to 1. There's a factory here. So that'll be a -1 die roll. And there's going to be an air combat. This Belgian fighter against this BF 109. So resolve that first. So it's a 1 -1, which is, I think, been the same all rounds. So let's see, the inactive will roll first. 9 on the air combat table on a -1 is AC. Attacker clears through bomber, no impact. Germans will roll. 17. That's probably going to be a kill on a +1 of 17. Is a DX. A DX is defender, player not rolling, destroys their own front fighter. So this guy dies. And the fighter, this German fighter, flips and will rebase. Dropped him back on top of the headquarters in Liege, I believe that is. All right, let's roll for this combat. 4 to 1. 4 to 1 is +8 on the die. No other, let's see, the defenders get to choose because they're in a factory or in a city. So the defenders will choose, go for the assault table. Germans will roll their 2 dice. A 9 plus 8 is a 17. Minus 1 is a 16. That's a 1x11. So I thought there might be no, that's a blitz anyway. It wouldn't work because they're in a city, so there's no modifier there. So the attacker takes 1 extra loss in total when their units are either attacking a city. Yes, they are attacking a city. So it looks like a city. So that's going to be a 2 loss to the attacker. So a 2 loss to 1. That's pretty heavy. Okay, so the Germans have to lose 2, and the defenders lose 1. I don't think they retreat. So that wasn't that great. Well, the British or the Belgians will take this 2 unit militia. And the Germans will take this 5. I did not use that headquarters in the attack. 5 and probably this non-motorized 7 infantry. That's pretty rough. Okay, so they're coming across through a fort, so any forts will be, the attacker is thirded, and there's some notes here, but they don't apply. No overrun. Combat applies to units attacking or overrunning the hex side, and any unit not attacking across a fort. The choice of combat depends on the other terrains. So let me calculate the odds here across the fort. Okay, so it's 12. It's 38 thirded, so it's a 12 to 5. So it ends up being 2 to 1. I'll throw in this plane to make it 15 to 5, 15 to 1. But I just realized it's a forest, so that affects the planes. Aircraft is halved in the forest, so I need to bring in 6 or more. I'll bring in this bomber as well, so that will bring it up to 15. So 3 to 1 here. 3 to 1 minus 1. It's a city as well. 3 to 1 is a plus 6. And the defender chooses assault table. Oops, that's not going to be good. 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. Minus 1 is an 11. 1 kill to the Germans. No kill to the French. The Germans will take this garrison unit that was here. Wow, that was pretty bad. Okay, and these 2 planes flip, and I'll rebase them. So they rebased to this square. Now the Germans will rebase their aircraft. I get 4 rebasings on a land move for Germany. I'll move this fighter up to here. And so that was 1. I'll rebase. There's a city here, so I can put actually up to 4 planes. I'll leave this guy. I will move him up to here. This plane only goes 3 spaces, so I should probably rebase him up to the front. And that'll be it for the Germans. Let's roll and see if the turn ends. So on 1, 2, or 3, looks like a 9. No, a 20, a 19 actually. That 0 keeps throwing me. By the way, it's pretty hard to find dice that have a number 10 on them. Ordered some, but they came and they were all zeros. So still trying to find a dice with 10 for the 0. Okay, so now it will be Allies turn number 10 here. I think the British are going to hold tight. The French will do a ground action, land. I'll move up into Paris with these two guys. And this is not a well-defended space here. I will rebase these aircraft. Get them back. I wish this one, yeah, I'll just put it in Paris. It's a little far away for interception, but this Maginot Line is actually holding up okay, so I don't think I need to necessarily have the fighter up there. One thing I forgot to do on the German turn is flip all these units. So I'll flip those over. Okay, so I fixed those. The defender doesn't flip unless they have to retreat or they take more losses than the attacker, which they didn't, nor did they up here. So I think that will be the French move, unless I want to move this HQ here. This is subject to air attack. Maybe not at the moment. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. The Germans could try to flip that HQ in a ground strike. I'll just move it back. I could rail it, but if you rail, then it flips the unit as well. So just 1, 2, 3. It's probably still within range of some of these planes, potentially. Okay, that'll be the French and English turn. So that's Allied Impulse 4, the end. Oh, sorry, Impulse 10. Roll to see if the turn ends. That's a 15. It's not, so now it's Axis 11. Weather roll, no modifiers on the weather. Weather roll. 13. So 13. July, August. Rain. Rain and a 2. Okay, so the Germans, it's raining, so I believe this guy is technically out of supply here. So I will move. Germans will do a movement. I'll move this motorized up and move this HQ into here. And that will bring these guys back into supply. I also realized I hadn't flipped these units from the last attack, so I flipped them over. And actually this Lieb HQ will reorg units as well. So 3. 1. 2, 3. Okay, that's the German turn. Now roll to see if it ends. Need a 4. Nope, I got an 8. And this goes up twice now. 1, 2 to 13. Allied. The French and British are going to pass. Okay, so I subtract 2 from the die roll because both pass. 11. I still don't get it. So axis impulse 14. Axis will pass. 8. That'll do it. That's the end of the turn.